I didn't panic when I found the flash drive taped inside my nephew's desk drawer. My hands were steady as I copied every file onto my laptop, watching the progress bar fill while my coffee went cold beside me. I knew exactly who those fabricated investment reports belonged to. Marcus, my sister's son. The boy I'd raised after she died. I sat there in his home office in Westlake Hills, the Texas heat making the air conditioning hum louder than usual, and I made a decision that would destroy everything we'd built together. I carefully copied the files, deleted my tracks from his computer's history, and placed an identical flash drive in his car's center console. Then I drove home, made myself a bourbon, and waited. 18 minutes later, I heard the sirens. Let me back up. My name is Walter, and I'm 67 years old. I spent 41 years as a forensic accountant, mostly working fraud cases for insurance companies in Austin before I retired. My wife, Elizabeth, passed away 6 years ago from a stroke. We never had children of our own, but when my younger sister Diana died in a car accident 28 years ago, her son Marcus came to live with us. He was 6 years old then, scared, confused, grieving. Elizabeth and I became his parents, in every way that mattered. We raised him in a ranch house off Bee Cave Road, put him through UT Austin without debt, helped him get his MBA, watched him build what looked like a successful career as a financial advisor. That was our legacy to him, our second chance at parenthood. Marcus is 34 now, married to a woman named Jennifer who works as a physical therapist. They have twin boys, my grandnephews, Caleb and Nathan, who just turned 5. For years, I thought I knew this young man. I thought I understood the person he'd become, the values Elizabeth and I had instilled in him. I was wrong. It started 4 months ago. Marcus asked me to help him organize some paperwork for the family trust. Diana had left a small inheritance, maybe $40,000, that I'd been managing conservatively for years. Marcus said he wanted to review the statements, maybe move some funds into better performing investments. I didn't think twice about it. He was a CFP, a certified financial planner. This was his expertise. I gave him access to the online account, showed him how to pull reports, told him to let me know if he had questions. When he returned my laptop 2 weeks later, something felt off. Marcus was distracted, kept checking his phone every 20 seconds while we were having lunch at Torchy's Tacos. When I asked about the trust, about his recommendations, he waved his hand dismissively. "It's fine, Uncle Walt. Everything looks good. Just keep doing what you're doing." Then he changed the subject to the twins' upcoming birthday party and left before finishing his food. The next morning, I logged into the trust account to check something. That's when I noticed a withdrawal. $3,000 transferred to an account I didn't recognize. The notation said administrative fee. In 41 years of managing money, I'd never charged an administrative fee to a family trust. I called the bank. They confirmed Marcus had authorized the transfer using the temporary access I'd given him. My stomach dropped. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe he'd consolidated some fees I didn't know about. Maybe it was legitimate, but I'd spent 4 decades investigating financial irregularities. And every instinct I had was screaming at me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the times Marcus had asked me questions over the years. About investment strategies, about how to hide income, about offshore accounts. I'd always thought he was just curious, learning from his uncle who worked in fraud prevention. Now, I wondered if I'd been training him. The second incident happened 3 weeks later. Marcus called me on a Thursday evening, said he needed to borrow my truck for Saturday, said he was moving some office furniture from his old location downtown to his new suite in the Domain. His Audi was too small for the job. I said yes. I always said yes to Marcus. This time, I paid attention. After I lent him the truck, I did something I'd never done before. I checked the GPS history on my phone. My truck had OnStar, and I'd set it up to sync with my mobile device for emergencies. I watched the route he took that Saturday. He didn't go to any furniture store. He drove to 3 different luxury car dealerships in Georgetown, Cedar Park, and Round Rock. Spent 30 minutes at each one. Then he stopped at a storage unit facility off I-35. When he returned the truck Sunday afternoon, he was nervous, sweating despite the November chill. "Thanks, Uncle Walt," he said, tossing me the keys. "You're a lifesaver. Anytime, son. That's what family's for." He hugged me, the boy I'd raised since he was 6, the kid I'd taught to drive in this very truck. Hugged me, and I could feel the guilt radiating off him like heat. After he left, I went out to the truck. I checked everywhere. Under the seats, in the glove box, in the bed. Nothing. Then I noticed the center console seemed loose. I opened it and found a burner phone, one of those cheap prepaid flip phones you can buy at any Walmart. I turned it on. There were text messages. Dozens of them. Names I didn't recognize, dollar amounts, dates, times. One message made my blood run cold. Client wired $50K for the Henderson portfolio. I'll process it through the usual route. They won't notice until tax time. I sat in that truck for 2 hours, reading everything. My nephew was running an investment scam. He was taking client money, putting small amounts into legitimate investments to show modest returns, and pocketing the rest. The phone had references to at least 15 different clients, mostly elderly people in their 70s and 80s. People who trusted him, people like me. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I needed to understand the full scope. I put the phone back exactly where I found it and went inside. I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and sat at the kitchen table where Elizabeth used to do crossword puzzles. I could almost hear her voice. That thing she used to say when Marcus got caught lying as a teenager. Trust isn't just broken. It's actively destroyed, piece by piece, choice by choice. Marcus had destroyed my trust. But more than that, he was destroying other people's retirement savings, their security, their futures. The next morning, I called him. "Marcus, I need to talk to you about something important. Can you come by the house this weekend?" There was a pause. "Is this about the trust? We'll talk Saturday." Saturday came. Marcus arrived alone. Said Jennifer had taken the twins to her parents' ranch near Fredericksburg. We sat in my study, the same room where I'd helped him with calculus homework, where we'd celebrated his college acceptance, where Elizabeth and I had told him we were proud of him after he got his CFP license. "I found something," I said. His face went pale. "What do you mean?" I showed him printouts. Not from the burner phone. Not yet. Just the trust account irregularities. 13 unauthorized transactions over 6 months. $27,000 total. Moved into accounts I couldn't trace. His eyes darted between the papers and the door. "Uncle Walt, I can explain, then explain." And he tried. He told me there'd been a misunderstanding with the trust management software. He said those were legitimate fees that the bank had retroactively applied. He said he'd been meaning to talk to me about restructuring the trust for tax purposes. Every word was a lie. I'd spent 41 years listening to people lie about money. I knew the tells. The way his left eye twitched, the way his voice went up half an octave, the way he couldn't maintain eye contact for more than 3 seconds. "Marcus," I said quietly, "how many clients are you doing this to?" "What? Just the trust? Or are there others?" His face changed. The false confusion vanished, replaced by cold calculation. "I don't know what you're talking about. I found the phone in my truck, the burner. I saw the messages." He stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "You went through my things? You had no right. You were using my truck to move money you stole from elderly clients. I had every right." We stared at each other. This young man I'd raised, who'd called me Dad until he was 12, who'd been the ring bearer at my and Elizabeth's 30th anniversary party. I didn't recognize the person standing in front of me. "Uncle Walt, those people can afford it. They're rich. They have more money than they'll ever spend. And you? What do you need it for?" He laughed. It was a sound I'd never heard from him before. Bitter. Entitled. "Jennifer and I have expenses. The twins' private school costs $40,000 a year. The house payment is $8,000 a month. My car lease is $1,200. Do you know what it costs to maintain the lifestyle expected of a successful financial advisor? I have to look successful to get wealthy clients. And I can't look successful on commission alone." I felt something break inside me. "So you steal from the people who trust you?" "They're not stealing. It's just redistributing. They'll never miss it. And what about when they do miss it? What about when they need that money for medical care, for their grandchildren's education, for their funerals? What happens then? He shrugged. By then, I'll have enough to disappear if I need to. Maybe start over in the Cayman Islands. You've really thought this through. Years, Uncle Walt. I've been planning this for years. And the trust? My sister's money? What about that? He had the decency to look away. I'm sorry about that. I really am. But I needed seed money to make this work. And you were the easiest mark. The easiest mark. The man who'd raised him, fed him, paid for his education, loved him like a son. I was an easy mark. Marcus, you need to stop. Today. Right now. You need to return every penny, go to your clients, confess, and face the consequences. He laughed again. I'm not going to prison, Uncle Walt. And you won't turn me in. Why not? Because I'm family. Because you love me. Because Aunt Elizabeth would never forgive you if you destroyed my life. Don't you dare use her name, I said, my voice shaking. Don't you dare invoke her memory to justify this. She'd be ashamed of you. She'd be devastated. And you know what? So am I. He grabbed his jacket. I need to go. Marcus, wait. But he was already out the door. I listened to his car start, listened to him peel out of my driveway, and I knew with absolute certainty that my nephew wasn't going to stop. He was going to keep stealing, keep destroying lives, keep justifying it with his expensive lifestyle and his entitled worldview. That night, I opened Elizabeth's old journal. She'd kept one for years, right up until the stroke. I flipped to an entry from when Marcus was 17, when he'd been caught cheating on a test. She'd written, "Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for someone we love is refuse to protect them from the consequences of their choices. Natural consequences teach what our love cannot." I'd thought she was being too harsh then. Now, I understood she'd been preparing me for this exact moment. I made a decision. If Marcus wouldn't protect himself, wouldn't protect his clients, I'd have to do it another way. I'd have to protect the people he was hurting, even if it meant losing him forever. The next morning, I drove to Marcus's office in the Domain. I told his receptionist I was there to drop off some family photos for his desk, a surprise. She let me into his office while he was at lunch. I had 15 minutes. I'd spent 41 years as a forensic accountant. I knew exactly what to look for and where to find it. His filing cabinets weren't even locked. Inside, I found client files with 2 sets of statements. One set showed the real investments, the actual returns. The other set, the ones he was giving to clients, showed fabricated gains that didn't exist. I photographed everything with my phone. 47 clients total, amounts ranging from $15,000 to $400,000. Total theft, approximately $3.2 million over 4 years. I found the ledger where he tracked everything. Which clients were savvy enough to double-check their statements versus which ones just trusted him blindly. He'd even noted which clients were suffering from early dementia, flagging them as low risk for detection. I wanted to vomit. This was the boy I'd taken to Rangers games. The kid who'd cried when Elizabeth died. The young man I'd helped pick out an engagement ring for Jennifer. I downloaded everything onto 3 flash drives. I put the originals back exactly as I'd found them. Then I left before he returned. That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. I called my former colleague, Special Agent Raymond Torres, from the FBI's White-Collar Crime Division. Ray and I had worked several cases together before I retired. I trusted him. "Ray, I need your help with something, but it's personal. It's family." He listened while I explained everything. The trust, the truck, the burner phone, the office files. When I finished, there was a long silence. "Walter, you know what this means if you move forward." "I know. Your nephew could go to prison for a long time. Wire fraud, securities fraud, elderly abuse statutes. We're talking 10 to 20 years federal time." "I know, Ray. I know exactly what it means. Why are you doing this?" "Because he won't stop. Because every day he continues, more people lose their futures. Because Elizabeth would never forgive me if I protected him and someone died because they couldn't afford their medication after he stole their savings, and because he called me an easy mark. That last part surprised me as much as it surprised Ray. But it was true. I wasn't doing this just for the victims, or for justice. Part of me was doing it because the boy I loved had looked at me with contempt, had seen me as a fool to be exploited. Ray asked me to bring him the flash drives. He wanted me to walk him through everything. But here's the thing. I couldn't just hand over the evidence and walk away. The FBI would need more. They'd need current criminal activity. They'd need Marcus to incriminate himself. So I made another decision. A harder one. I told Ray I'd get him what he needed, but I had to do it my way. He wasn't happy about it, but he agreed to give me 2 weeks. I spent those 2 weeks becoming someone I didn't recognize. I reconnected with Marcus, apologized for overreacting about the trust. I told him I'd been thinking about what he said, about how those wealthy clients wouldn't miss the money. I said I wanted to understand his business better, maybe even invest some of my retirement savings with him. He bought it completely. Took me to lunch at Perry's Steakhouse, walked me through his process, showed me the fake statements he created, even demonstrated the software he used to fabricate transaction histories. I recorded everything. I wore a wire the FBI gave me. I played the role of the curious, slightly senile old uncle who might be convinced that a little financial creativity was just smart business. The hardest part was sitting across from him at Uchi, listening to him laugh about how stupid his clients were, how easy it was to manipulate old people who didn't understand technology, how he'd learned everything from watching me investigate fraud cases, just in reverse, how the statute of limitations meant he only had to keep the scheme running for another 18 months before he could start shutting it down and retiring early. "You taught me well, Uncle Walt," he said, raising his seg cup, "to the best teacher I ever had." I clinked my cup against his, smiled, and died a little inside. After 2 weeks, I had everything Ray needed. Video, audio, documents, the fake flash drives Marcus had shown me. But the FBI needed one more thing. They needed to catch him in the act. They needed probable cause for a search warrant. That's when I did the thing I still lose sleep over. I told Marcus I wanted to invest $200,000 with him. My entire retirement savings. He was ecstatic. Finally, he said, "You're seeing the big picture. We can both win here." I gave him the check. It was real, drawn on my account. But I'd already alerted my bank, already set things up with the FBI. The moment he deposited that check, the moment he put even $1 of it into his fabricated investment scheme, he'd be committing wire fraud with a federal agent as a witness. He deposited the check on a Wednesday morning. By Wednesday afternoon, he'd created a fake portfolio for me, showing my money invested in a mix of stocks and bonds. The FBI traced every digital step. They had him cold. But I did one more thing. Something I hadn't told Ray about. The night before the FBI raid, I took one of the flash drives with all the evidence and planted it in Marcus's car. In the center console, where anyone doing a basic search would find it. I wanted to make absolutely certain there were no technicalities, no suppression of evidence, no way for a good lawyer to get him off on procedural grounds. The raid happened on a Friday morning. I was at home when I heard 23 agents, search warrants for his office, his home, his vehicles. They found everything. The fake statements, the client files, the burner phones, the flash drive I'd planted in his car. Jennifer called me 3 hours later. "Walter, they arrested Marcus. They're saying he stole millions. They're saying he defrauded the elderly. This has to be a mistake. You have to help him." "Where are the twins?" I asked. "They're here with me. We're at home. Walter, please. You know Marcus. He'd never do this. You have to tell them." "Jennifer," I said carefully, "I need you to get a lawyer. A good criminal defense attorney. Don't let Marcus talk to the FBI without representation. Do you understand? Why are you saying that? Because I'm the one who turned him in." The phone went silent. Then I heard her breathing, fast and shallow. "You... what?" I found out what he was doing. I tried to get him to stop. He refused. I couldn't let him keep hurting people. You set him up. Your family. How could you? Because I raised him better than this. Because your sons deserve to know their father did the right thing, even if it's hard. Because the people he stole from deserve justice. You destroyed our lives. I'm sorry, Jennifer. I truly am. But Marcus destroyed your lives the moment he decided to steal that first dollar. I just made sure there was a chance for him to rebuild. She hung up. I stood there, holding the phone, knowing I'd just lost my grandnephews too. The next 72 hours were hell. Marcus was denied bail. The prosecutor argued he was a flight risk, had mentioned fleeing to the Cayman Islands in recorded conversations, had moved money into offshore accounts. The evidence was overwhelming. 47 victims, $3.2 million, 4 years of systematic fraud. I visited him at the Travis County Jail on the 4th day. They brought him out in an orange jumpsuit. He looked like he'd aged 20 years. When he saw me through the glass, his face twisted with rage. He picked up the phone on his side. You did this. Yes. You wore a wire. You set me up. You planted evidence in my car. Yes, to all of it. Why? How could you do this to me? I'm your nephew. I'm your son. He started crying then. That broke me more than anything else. No, Marcus. A son doesn't steal from his father. A son doesn't call the man who raised him an easy mark. A son doesn't profit from destroying elderly people's lives. Those people don't matter. They have enough. And what about Caleb and Nathan? Do they have enough? What kind of father did you want to be for them? One who taught them that stealing is okay if the victims are rich? He slammed his fist against the glass. I did this for them, for their future, for their opportunities. You did this for you, Marcus, for your ego, for your car and your house and your image. And now your sons will grow up knowing their father is a thief. I leaned forward. The FBI offered you a deal. If you help them recover the money, if you identify everyone you worked with, if you show genuine remorse, they'll recommend 15 years instead of 25. You could be out when the twins are in college. You could still have a relationship with them. I'll never speak to you again. That's your choice. But think about Jennifer. Think about your sons. Think about the victims whose savings you stole. You have a chance here to do the right thing, even though it's too late. Take it. He hung up the phone and walked away. I watched the guard escort him back to his cell, his shoulders shaking. Over the next 6 months, things unfolded in ways I didn't expect. Marcus took the deal. He cooperated fully, helped the FBI recover $2.1 million of the $3.2 million he'd stolen. The rest was gone, spent on his lifestyle. He provided documentation that led to the recovery of funds from 2 other financial advisors running similar schemes, people he'd networked with. Jennifer filed for divorce. She moved with the twins to San Antonio to be near her family. She got a restraining order against Marcus, but she also did something surprising. She called me. Walter, I need you to know something. I didn't know what he was doing. I swear I didn't know. I believe you, Jennifer. But I need you to understand why you didn't know. Why Marcus could hide this from you. She was quiet for a long time. Then, because I didn't want to know. Because I liked the house and the car and the lifestyle. Because I didn't ask hard questions when the money kept flowing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The twins, I said. Can I see them sometimes? Not yet, she said. Maybe someday, but not yet. They're too young to understand, and I need to protect them from this. I understand. Marcus was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. With good behavior, he'd be eligible for release in 9. The judge was particularly harsh about the elderly victims, about the breach of fiduciary duty, about the callousness of his scheme. At the sentencing hearing, 3 of his victims gave impact statements. One woman, 79 years old, talked about how she'd worked as a teacher for 43 years. Saved every penny. Marcus had stolen $87,000 from her. She'd had to move in with her daughter, had to give up her apartment, her independence, her life savings. Gone. I watched Marcus during those statements. For the first time, I saw genuine remorse on his face. Not self-pity, not anger at getting caught. Real, devastating understanding of what he'd done. After the sentencing, the woman, Mrs. Patterson, approached me in the hallway. "You're his uncle," she said. I nodded. "Thank you," she said, "for doing what was right, even when it was hard." I started crying then, right there in the courthouse hallway, in front of strangers and lawyers and journalists. She hugged me. This tiny woman who'd lost everything because of the boy I'd raised, hugged me and thanked me. I visit Marcus once a month now. For the first year, he wouldn't talk to me. He'd just sit there, stone-faced, while I talked about the weather, about the twins from what little Jennifer would tell me, about the restitution payments being made to his victims. Then, last month, something changed. He called me on a Tuesday. Our normal visiting day was Friday. When I accepted the collect call, his voice was different, softer. "Uncle Walt, I've been doing a lot of therapy here. Court-ordered at first, but now I actually want to go." "That's good, Marcus. I need to tell you something. I understand now. I don't mean I forgive you, but I understand why you did it, why you had to do it. Go on." My therapist asked me what I would do if Caleb or Nathan were stealing from people, if they were hurting others and wouldn't stop. I said I'd do anything to stop them, anything to save them from themselves. And then I realized that's what you did. You didn't betray me. You refused to enable me. You loved me enough to let me face consequences, because consequences were the only thing that would save my life. I felt something loosen in my chest, something that had been tight for 18 months. Do you think Aunt Elizabeth would have done what you did? I thought about that. Elizabeth, with her sharp mind, her unwavering moral compass, her journal entries about natural consequences. Yes, I said, she'd have done exactly what I did. Maybe she'd have done it sooner. She always was smarter than me about these things. I heard him laugh. A real laugh, not bitter or cynical. Yeah, she was. "Uncle Walt, there's something else." "What's that?" "The therapist helped me write letters to all 47 victims, apologizing, not asking for forgiveness, just acknowledging what I did and how it affected them. 23 of them wrote back. Some told me to rot in hell. Some said they appreciated the acknowledgement. Mrs. Patterson, the teacher, she wrote me a 3-page letter about the importance of redemption and second chances. That sounds like her. I'm going to spend every day for the rest of my life trying to be the person you and Aunt Elizabeth thought I was, the person I should have been. I'm going to teach financial literacy classes here. I'm going to help other inmates understand how to manage money honestly. And when I get out, I'm going to dedicate my life to helping fraud victims recover. That's a good plan, son. Tell me about the twins. How are they? We talked for 40 minutes. About Caleb's love of dinosaurs, Nathan's talent for drawing, Jennifer's new job as a clinic director, the small apartment they'd moved into, the slow process of rebuilding. Before we hung up, Marcus said, "Uncle Walt, I'm going to make you proud, even if it takes the rest of my life. You already have, Marcus. By taking responsibility, by changing. That's all anyone can ask. Now, I see the twins twice a month. Jennifer brings them to Austin, drops them off at my house for Saturday lunch. We make pancakes, watch old Pixar movies, build elaborate Lego sets. They ask about their dad sometimes. I tell them the truth in ways 5-year-olds can understand. I tell them their daddy made some big mistakes and hurt people, that he's learning to be better, that sometimes grown-ups make bad choices and have to face consequences, that we still love him, even when we're disappointed in what he did. Last weekend, while we were making chocolate chip cookies, Nathan looked up at me and said, "Grandpa Walt, my teacher says family means we help each other. Is that true?" I thought about Marcus in prison, about the choice I'd made that put him there, about Jennifer rebuilding her life, about 47 victims whose savings were destroyed, about Elizabeth gone 6 years now, whose wisdom had guided every step. Yes, buddy, that's true. But sometimes helping people means doing things that feel mean. It means not letting them do bad things, even when they want to. Like when mommy makes us eat vegetables? Exactly like that. Sometimes the people who love us most are the ones who stop us from doing things that hurt us or hurt other people, even when it makes us mad at them. He nodded, satisfied, and went back to stirring cookie dough. Caleb, meanwhile, had been building a tower out of measuring cups. It fell over, and both boys laughed. I thought about Elizabeth's journal entry, about natural consequences teaching what love cannot. I thought about Marcus's letters to his victims, about Mrs. Patterson's response, about Jennifer's acknowledgement that she'd chosen not to know. Here's what I learned through all of this. Love isn't just about making people comfortable. Sometimes, love means enforcing boundaries that hurt. Sometimes, love means watching someone you raised fall because catching them would only delay the inevitable crash. People ask me if I regret what I did, if I wish I'd found another way. The truth is, I ran through every other option first. I tried confrontation. I tried appealing to his conscience. I tried threatening to expose him. Nothing worked because Marcus didn't want to stop. He'd convinced himself he deserved that money more than the people he was stealing from. The thing is, if I'd done nothing, Marcus would be in prison anyway. Eventually, someone would have caught him. The SEC, the FBI, an angry client, a vengeful colleague. The difference is, without my intervention, he might have stolen another $3 million. 47 victims might have become 90. And when he finally got caught, the sentence would have been life, not 12 years. This way, he has a chance. 9 years from now, he'll be 43. Still young enough to rebuild a relationship with his sons. Still young enough to have a career, even if it's not the one he planned. Still young enough to make amends. There's a photo on my mantle from the twins' 3rd birthday, right before I discovered Marcus's fraud. Marcus is holding both boys, all 3 of them laughing at something Jennifer said. Every time I look at it, I remember that father, that moment of joy, and I hold on to the hope that the man in federal prison is finding his way back to being that person, the person who deserves those boys' love. In 9 years, when Marcus is eligible for release, I'll be there at his parole hearing. I'll tell them about the restitution he's made, the classes he's teaching, the victims who've forgiven him. I'll advocate for my nephew the same way I worked to stop him. Because that's what family means. Not that we never hurt each other. Not that we always agree. Not that we let each other destroy lives out of misplaced loyalty. Family means we love each other enough to make the hard choices, to protect each other from external threats, yes, but also to protect the people we love from themselves, even when it breaks our hearts, even when they hate us for it, even when we lie awake at night wondering if we did the right thing. I still wonder, probably always will, but when Nathan and Caleb hug me goodbye on Saturday evenings, when Marcus calls from prison to tell me about another victim who responded to his letter, when I think about Elizabeth and hope I made her proud, I think maybe I did the right thing. Maybe love isn't about keeping people happy. Maybe love is about keeping people alive, keeping them human, keeping them from becoming monsters. Maybe love is about intervention, about saying no when yes would be easier, about choosing the hard conversation over comfortable silence. That's what I tell myself. That's what lets me sleep at night. And that's the lesson I hope Caleb and Nathan learn as they grow up. The one I wish I could have taught Marcus before it was too late. The people who love us most are sometimes the ones who won't let us fail, even when stopping us breaks their hearts. So if you're reading this, if you're facing something similar, here's what I learned. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Address it directly, quickly, honestly. Don't wait for problems to solve themselves. Don't make excuses for behavior you know is destructive. Set boundaries and enforce them, even with family, especially with family. And if you ever find yourself in my position, having to choose between protecting someone from consequences or protecting them from themselves, remember this: consequences are temporary. Character destruction is permanent. Lost lives, lost souls, lost humanity, those things are forever. Choose intervention. Choose the hard conversation. Choose boundaries over enabling. Choose love that looks like disappointment now over grief that lasts forever. That's my story. That's what I did. Whether it was right or wrong, I'll leave that for others to judge. For now, I just keep showing up. For the twins, for Marcus, for the family Elizabeth and I built together. Because at the end of the day, that's all we can do. We show up. We make the best choices we can with the information we have. We love imperfectly, parent imperfectly, forgive imperfectly, and we hope it's enough.